Thank you all for tuning in. The following is a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch III, coming to you live from the Palatial Studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Malden, Missouri. Joining me from more than acceptable safe social distances are my guests for today. Stells DiRossi-Hurst, or Method to the Madness, coming
Hello.
from California, the Bay Area now, right?
I'm in Berkeley.
In Berkeley. Whoa, totally awesome.
Yep, Berkeley. Berkeley, baby.
Yep. And joining us from the other side of the country in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is Russell Vann. How you doing, Russ? Thank you for being on. Oh, I was excited when I saw your guys' names pop up. I thought, wow, this is going to be a great show. I'm going to get schooled. So I always start off with the same question, and now I do anyway. This is something new. And that question is, who are you reading? So we'll go ladies first. Stells, who are you reading?
This is not quite a book. You know me being an odd duck of sorts. I got this really cool Sherlock Holmes murder mystery thing that we're doing. And
Okay.
it has to do a lot of research into Jack the Ripper. So it's a lot of
Nice.
old periodicals, newspapers, and I've just gone on a gumshoe kick.
Totally cool. My cousin,
Yeah.
James Taylor, wrote an authorized Sherlock Holmes novel. So it's actually
Wow, I would love
authorized
to check
by the
that out.
family and all. Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but the author's name I know because he's my cousin. James, not the
That's
cousin I
cool.
live with. He's on the other side of the family. But yeah, James Taylor. So you should be able to look it up by that.
I'll have to
But
check that out because I love Sherlock. Huge fan of Sherlock.
you know who we have to thank for Sherlock Holmes and the development of the detective novel?
No,
Edgar Allan Poe. It's
that
agreed that
sounds.
Edgar Allan Poe was the first person to write a detective novel.
Wow. They just did in Oakland, California, a speakeasy themed on Poe where they did
Okay.
live readings in person and they had
Nice.
like cocktails based on the 4 different stories they read. And I was like,
Okay.
oh man, I wish I had $100 a person to go check that out. It was like an interesting thing that they actually did here, pay $100 and if you're that into Poe, we'll make you some drinks and read to you. And I'm like, that's cool and all, but $100? No.
Yeah. Uh-oh. We lost Ross.
Uh-oh.
Well, hopefully he'll hop back on real quick. Yeah, I've always wanted to do stuff like that. Really get into the stuff like dressing up and all that. I've always wanted to do cosplay at like one of the Comic Cons and those kinds of things, but the
Yeah.
money always stood in the way. It's
It is an
like,
expensive
who's got
hobby,
money for that?
totally.
Yeah, no kidding.
I actually started getting into youth theater so that I could learn how to do the sashay work to make my own stuff for Ren Fair growing up. And if I had
Okay.
not gone and done theater with my mother, I would not know how to hem dresses for like my inner goth thing. And a lot of my friends know what a goth I am deep down. I have like this, I wanted to be Morticia when I grew up. And if there's a gown or there's something Poe or goth, I'm on top of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've always had a touch of darkness myself. Let me turn off my phone here. That's supposed to be on Do Not Disturb, and it's not. My phone has
The
betrayed
machines
me.
are rebelling. The
Yep.
machines are.
Let me see if Russell's coming back. So sorry, but
No, no worries.
yeah, I love Poe. I actually, it's funny. I bought my car. I have a 2006. Oh, there's Russell. I have a
There he is.
2006 Pontiac solstice, and I actually
Okay.
bought it on Edgar Allan Poe's birthday, January 21st. And
That is
so
awesome.
I keep a copy of the complete works in the car of his complete works.
I have a complete copy of his works that I bought in the late 90s that actually went on tour with me. It went to Guatemala, it went to the UK.
Wow.
It's like falling apart and it's got like the gold leafing. I have a complete works of Poe and a complete works of Shakespeare like in my living room at all times.
You got to have those are two that you definitely have to have.
You know what's so funny?
Yep.
So Russell, thanks for coming back.
Can you see me? I can see you, but I can't see my pictures. I just want to make sure you can see me and we all good.
No, I can't see you. They've got you on low data mode because of your connection. It'll be fine in the final cut.
Okay, but you can hear me.
You ever see those 2020 memes of how they said
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, we
like the
can hear you.
Muppets talking to people in conferences?
Okay. Well, as long as you can hear me, we'll be okay.
Okay, so Russell, who
Yes.
are you reading right now?
Crazy.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Crazy.
We should have video in the final draft.
Okay, that's good. That's fine. Actually, I am doing a rereading.
Yep, it's all crazy. So who are you
I'm
reading?
doing a rereading, and now it's going to sound crazy, but the rereading that I'm doing is Frankenstein, and I'm doing yes.
The first sci-fi.
And the reason I'm reading it
Shelley,
is because
what did you
I'm seeing now all of this new AI technology, and now they're even talking about the implants, the brain implants. Now I think they're going to start out with about 500 people, and just to think about now the things that they're creating, and now way back when, however long ago that this novel was written, how they were thinking of these things and putting people's minds and controlling people and putting people together and stuff like that. Just starting to mess with nature, starting to mess with God. And I'm remembering, I went out again. Okay.
Yeah.
Hit this.
Well, Frankenstein's a great book. And if you've ever watched, especially the old school, what's his name? Frankenstein, not Bela Lugosi. That's terrible of me. That is terrible of me. Who's?
You almost went there. I'm waiting to see.
I
if you
almost
got it.
went there. Almost. But that movie series is nothing like the book. And I don't mean in just like little ways that people are always saying, oh, the book is better than the movie. You know, of course the book's better than the movie. It's fuller, but Frankenstein is completely different.
Yeah.
And
what is your take on the new movie that's coming out for Valentine's Day? I heard they did a flip script on Frankenstein where they made it a woman and like she brings the guy back. And I was like, I don't know how I want to see it, but they could ruin it. I don't know.
Hear me?
You know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay, so what my concept of was with the Frankenstein. I'm sorry to keep cutting off. I hope it's not on my part. But what first fascinated me with Frankenstein was that growing up, I always saw the Frankenstein movies. So thinking the monster, he's a crazy monster. But in the movies, in the book, he was actually an intelligent human being. And he was articulate. And he was angry. But he was unable to control his emotions.
Yes.
And the doctor was actually the monster because what he did was created this human being, an atrocious human being because of his appearance, but not in his heart. And he left him alone to the world. So what that kind of, because I work in the prison system and a lot of the young men there don't, and a lot of them juvenile young people, the common denominator was that they were not raised by a father. And I think of that in the Frankenstein sense that you created something, but you didn't teach them how to become a man. You didn't teach them how to live life. So you left them to the world, and the world can be a not a nice place. So I incorporate. So that's why I'm reading that now, because to see how what the reasoning behind when you look at the book Originally, you think, oh, this is a
Mhm.
monster. Oh, he's just killing people for no reason. But what it was, he wanted a mate. He was lonely, and he wanted the Dr. Frankenstein to make him a woman, so he could be. And he wanted to go away with the woman, but he just wanted to have companionship.
Right.
He wanted to have love. He wanted to have empathy. He wanted to have someone. Two is better than one. The theory there, and Frankenstein refused. And so,
Interesting. Hey, that's an interesting take on that. Are you familiar with the
Yeah.
series Penny Dreadful at all? Because I think that his portrayal of Frankenstein was closer to the book itself than the
Mhm.
adaptations that we see in classic film. And a lot of the things that you're saying metaphorically, yes, he did want to not be the only one of his kind. And it wasn't just the mate purposes, it was the relatability of being ostracized and judged by society in general. And a lot of people who had problems fitting in, who were made fun of, who were different. I noticed we all kind of liked that story in that book because we could relate to what it's like to be the odd person out for whatever
Yeah.
systemic social reasons, be it your weight or your ethnicity, or you didn't have Guess jeans in the 90s. There was always something that would make people do that. And I think that's one of the things that Shelley was going for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I think so. But yeah, it's a great book. Did you know? You know, of course, that that the monster doesn't have a name in the book. He's unnamed. But
Correct. It's actually the
during
doctor's name. But
right, Dr. Frankenstein. But in the during the lifespan of Shelley, um, somebody made a play, turned it into a play, and named him
Mhm.
Adam. And she apparently approved of
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
And so that's where we get sometimes people refer to, or movies refer to the monster as Adam Frankenstein.
Yes.
But
Another thing is
yeah.
cool is how actually that story was written, how they were all a bunch of artists that hung out together on a
Hmm.
weekend and kind of came up with that. There were a lot of big names that were in that little circle of writers. And Mary
Yeah.
Shelley, what she did at the time was extremely controversial as a female writer in that
Hmm.
era. So it's just, there's so many metaphors that people don't really see conductive to Frankenstein that
Yeah.
even though it was about the monster, she was also talking about feminism.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah. The book is so full of metaphor and yeah, and
Well,
meaning.
at,
You you've got the Industrial Revolution going on, and so
yep.
you've got a lot of allusions to that. You've got feminism, Russell, like you said. You can even draw examples of, draw from it as an example of growing up without a father. And
Hmm.
yeah, it is definitely a full book, especially for someone who was like 18 at the time when she
Correct.
wrote it. That's an awesome and heavy book.
It is a good one.
Yeah, yeah. We got you.
Hmm.
Oh, you can't hear us. Oh, okay. Oops, we lost Russell again. His reception must not be too great right now.
It could be the winter storms. It's been
Yeah,
crazy
yeah,
this year, like
yeah.
unreal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pineapple Express is hitting California pretty hard.
Not so bad up here. I feel bad for San Diego.
Yeah, yeah,
Poor
yeah.
San
They're
Diego.
getting it. Yeah,
Yeah,
of
they had like
course.
30-foot waves taking out entire neighborhoods. Cars are half underwater. I was like,
Yeah,
whoa. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, well, of course, my M&O chapter is out of Orange County there. So yesterday I got to hear about all the storms effects on the people living there, and
That's gotta be
yeah, it's
crazy.
just it's ridiculous. Yeah,
Well, tell them I said
mudslides, and
hi.
I will.
We got nothing going around up here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but
so
so yeah. So what is going on with you, Stells?
Since we last talked, I've done about 4 different interviews, been performing live in
Nice.
California. Bold Journey just did a national interview with me on talking about how imposter syndrome can be peer pressured systematically. And I had
Okay.
shared a little bit about my journey about how I came into finding myself and rising above and just getting the confidence as a woman, a bigger plus size woman, a woman of color,
Hmm.
to just find my bearings and just go be me, and how it felt great to break that stigma and to continue to represent it and how people thanked me for it. I did 2 magazines as a plus size model that I got with
Wow.
Flipside that came out today, and Dogmatic did an interview, meeting with Tattooed Baby magazine next month. Just doing a lot of interviews and recording. The solo career is doing really good.
Awesome.
Um, and my podcast is coming back with season 10 this year, on the
Wow.
14th, with an episode called Villains and Valentines. So I thought
Okay.
that would be kind of cool to feature some local artists. It's become more of a talk show. I'm talking to all kinds of people from across the country and around the world, and putting music, giving people a chance just to kind of bring people more together as a focus, rather than, I just want to break down social stigma. So I made it
Yeah.
more eclectic musically with the show, and just
Okay.
expand it to just all walks of life this year. It's been great.
Nice. Nice. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw the stuff you have on the website, and saw you announcing another appearance on Not Quite After Midnight.
Always.
So very pleased about that. Cannot display,
Always. I
not
try to
able
show
to
you
display
love,
this
man.
camera and mic. You do. Hold on.
We've got a couple more
Let's see.
interviews coming up to break segue for things with the band and side projects. I'll be working and incorporating my Egyptian and Sicilian culture into the rock music with live Egyptian belly dancing and burlesque dancers while I perform now. So it's going to get real loco for madness. It's going to be fun.
Cool. I am just letting Russ know that he needs to refresh. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, maybe.
Okay.
And re-enter the studio. Of course, now we won't be able to see this. So,
So I've got an interesting book story for you.
okay.
So when I moved to California from Arizona, my cat escaped for 3 months,
Oh,
and he was
I think you
unshipped.
said that.
And the person who helped return him to me, named Sam, who was just an angel, sent us the best Christmas gift ever. And it's called A Rue Adventure, the Book of Rue. And it's photos of
Okay.
what the cat did the 3 months he was on vacation. And it's like this whole journey home, kind of like a homeward bound
Wow.
thing. And there's pictures of him all over, looking at here, and just traveling between Southern California all the way up to the Bay Area. And it is just the most darling book that we ever have seen. And it's like, my cat
Wow.
has a book. This is hilarious.
Well, then you need to do your book.
We are working on that. It's just, between recording, music, modeling, and the pairing with RH Media, the new merch
Mhm.
lines, going for an Amazon merch partnership. It's been so busy. They'll have enough for a book eventually, but
Yeah.
right now I just want to finish the album.
Okay. No, I can understand that. Yeah, writing a book while doing other stuff is a headache and a half.
Yes.
I'm because I'm writing my book on ethical leadership, and I'm
Hmm.
going to school, and I've got the podcast, and I've got my
Yep.
regular job, and
Yep.
and
And it's tough for nerds, but we do it.
yep, yep,
We get her
yep.
done. Yeah.
What I'm finding is chopping it into tiny pieces and being highly organized with it is the only way to get through it.
Yes, without like Siri and Alexa to remind me. I think that I have my own built-in digital housewife. Stells, go do this. Stells, go do that. And I'm like, hey, what do I got to do now? I would be so disorganized if I didn't, have technology to remind me. And then I don't have to get mad at a human because it's a machine.
I'm scared to talk.
Yeah. So,
I'm
so
scared to
Russell,
talk
we're
because I think I'm
talking
gonna
about
fall
how to
out
write a
again.
book. How did you write your books? Because you've got three out, right? The three from the Ghetto Bastard series, right? I think we're good. You're looking pretty strong.
You good?
Yep. Oh, we did lose him.
Okay.
Oh, but yeah, Russell's books they're autobiographical and
Okay.
tell his story of being raised by his great grandmother
It's his
and
voice.
becoming it's his voice. And I have
Mhm.
copies. I have to make little time here and there to get some reading done, but I have been working on them. And yeah, it's they're just incredible. Um, yeah,
I
the
think
links
that
in the
that's the
description. Go get them.
I think it's a wonderful thing about when voices that are marginalized can tell these stories so that people
Mm-hmm.
can relate to them, because I think that there is kind of a picture that's painted that's been obsessed and Hollywoodized and
Yeah,
glorified. But when you have people writing these firsthand accounts of these experiences, it opens up a world for people who will never know about this from a perspective that they can't really ascertain. And I think that a lot of these narratives have been not given a chance socially. There's so many walks of life in Afrocentric culture in the United States that are not talked about. And it's not just the upbringing that Russell's talking about. There are so many degrees of it. We have a long way to go. And it's always good that people are open to discuss these things because it starts the conversation to just bringing us all together to kind of understand and how we can relate and how these affect people, like the fact that he's mentioning that children without a father, I grew up without a father but in a different scenario, and these kinds of things affect people in different walks of life differently. But there are so many marginalized voices that are not represented and discussed, and we only have art to imitate life to actually get that out in some means.
Well,
yeah.
what's good about my books? Y'all can hear me now, right? We're good?
Yes, yes,
I went
sir.
and got another computer. All right. Well, what's good about the book? All right,
And
we're
on a
going to cut me
mission.
off now. This is going to be good now. Now we're going to go. You're not going to cut off my flow. Well, the books, the Ghetto Bastard series, now, first, when I first started going around with the book, the people were like, well, why would you put something like that? Why would it be such a sensational title? And I was like, well, I'm from the ghetto. I'm a bastard. That's what it is. That's the truth.
It is
Now,
what it
in some
is.
places, when they say the word bastard, they're glorifying it. When they had it on the
Mm-hmm.
Game of Thrones, it was the duel of the bastards, the battle of the bastards. You know, when you're rich or you're a Kardashian, you know, it's a love child. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's still children out of wedlock. Now, what's so detrimental in the ghetto is that people start to glorify that, and it starts to become so normal. It's no problem leaving a woman with 2 kids. It's no problem impregnating a woman, a young lady, and leaving her at best. And in some places, it's so generational. One time, my wife worked for the county assistance office, and I was waiting outside for her, and I saw the grandmother come in, the mother come in, and the granddaughter come in holding a baby.
Hmm.
So it's just generational now that the system, and so ironically, and I don't want to get into a battle, but
Right.
feminism, I think, in a small part, has a lot to play in the scenario, because now a lot of women are walking around saying, I don't need no man. I don't need no man. I can get my own money. I can make my own money. I can buy my own house. I got me a good job. And they say, I don't need a man. Okay, maybe you don't need a man, but maybe your kids do. I'm just thinking, you know. So what has become the norm is not the norm, and it's breaking down the whole fabric of society, because now, look at, when you have statistics like this, 50% of marriages end in divorce. Where's that coming from? Where is it becoming so easy that we have not, where commitment is just something you throw out the window? I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I may interject,
Okay.
and and I, as a feminist that was a single mother, I think that it depends on the feminist. because not all feminists are feminists that hate men. Women's suffrage over the years has been a complex issue for many. However, so has the suffrage and marginalization of generational curses within society and culture. So you have more than just the feminism factor at play here. You have a narrative of peoples who were not given the opportunity or support systematically. Then you had them kind of societally segregated to where these were the only examples they were given. And due to that systematic approach to ostracize and to keep people who were low income or poor, you got an egress of these examples for generations, making generational curses, which led to no fathers. Kids grew up without the example of parentage of a male and female role, which led to independence, which you got kids growing up with angry mothers who are talking bad about fathers, or sons watching the lack thereof with the bad example. This is not something that's going to go away overnight if people continue to glorify this, but if they had nothing else to look up to, that's what they got.
Ditto. You must have read my book. Did I tell you about my book, Ghetto Bastard?
No, but
The book that contains the
being
answers
a
to
woman of
questions you
color,
didn't know you
I
could
know some
ask.
things.
And it contains all those answers, and she's absolutely right. And I want to go also a little deeper now. I'm going to go a little spiritual, if that's okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Because I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I'm looking at society. Now, I'm not an overly religious man. I'm just a spiritually, I just went right is right, wrong is wrong. And to me, I don't go into all these little different things in people's lives and who you want to love and who you don't want to love, things like that. But one of the things that, like, I've been in a relationship with my wife going on 41 years. I've been married to my wife 27 years.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
And a lot of times when people talk to me and I'll tell them, how long I've been married and stuff like that, they'll say, well, what's the secret? Now, there's not necessarily a secret, but I'll tell you one thing that I know really makes a difference in this relationship. And people with society try to corrupt it. But in this relationship, the man is the man and the woman is the woman. My job, I don't care who say what, didn't, when, how. I'm talking about, my wife and I were just talking about this the other day. I don't care if you go back to caveman days, when they were hunter and gatherers. The man ran out there. Now, that was his work. He went out there with the rest of the men, and they chased down that wildebeest or whatever they did, you know what I mean? And, hunt him down, kill him, bring him home. And the women was at home nurturing the children, keeping the house, getting the fire together. It was teamwork, and everybody knew their place in there. Even till today, if we look at like old videos on YouTube with old couples that were married in the 1930s and the 40s, and they've been together 50, 60, 70 years. And they have this commitment and this value system that's going on. And no matter what, I would say, wow, the man knew he was the man, the woman knew he was woman. When I say I'm the man, my job is to protect and provide at all costs. My job, when I'm the man, when it's snowing, guess what? She don't have to say, get up there and start shoveling that snow. My job is to get up there and start shoveling that snow. If something needs fixing, she don't have to say, hey, so-and-so needs fixing. Or maybe she'll say it, but you know who's going to do it. Your job is to take care of those things, so she doesn't have to take care of those things. Now, as a woman, her job is simple. It's simple, and I want to be crude or rude. Feed me and please me. A man don't look at too much. A lot of women, when they say things like, I got my own this, I got my own that, I got my own money. Men don't look at women like that. Men look at women half, I'm going to say 25% of it is for the beauty. But that's just the attraction. Then when the man goes and he starts talking to this woman, he wants to know if she is as beautiful, if she is as intelligent as she is as beautiful. Because beauty is superficial. Intelligence is what grabs the man. Intelligent is what makes a man go, oh, wow, okay, this is someone I can talk to. This is someone I can relate to. This is someone I can grow with. This is someone I can build with. This is someone that's on the same wavelength that I am. That's what we're looking for. But now we're so, in society, it's so superficial. It's so, what's that thing they do? The Tinder, the Twiby, whatever, they're swiping and looking at this person to see, I don't know. I'm not all into this. I'm an older person, but
Okay.
there's no substance to it. And a lot of times my wife and I laugh. I'm like, man, so thankful I've got this woman because at least I know her. I've known her since I was 15 years old. I know her character, the content of her, all of that kind of stuff. When you look at the women, young ladies today, and they're talking about body counts 20, 30, 40, I'm like, wait a minute. And this is what the things that they're putting out. And I think we talked one time before, Bill, when they were talking about, because this is the imagery. Remember, this is what they started the younger generation when they had that song WAP out. You know what I mean? And that was, it had a Grammy.
Mm-hmm.
It had a Grammy.
Okay.
And this is what our people are looking at. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. There are some good points, but I also wanted to give you another narrative. As someone who came from a different culture, my father's Sicilian, my mother's Egyptian, and having been grown in a matriarchal society, I think a lot of what you're describing is cultural and generational. Now, I don't know why WAP won a Grammy. I totally disagreed with that song. But I can say this. It's a double-edged sword because you have this generation of women that had a low quality of men at the end of Gen X that had to actually step it up. These boys don't even pull their pants up. So, I mean, it's just kind of, I am blessed where my husband and I both have Italian heritage. So we understand an understanding as well. And I think that what you're defining is kind of another generation's way of explaining the understanding within a marriage. It's not exactly who does the role, it's the understanding of the partnership of the team, which is not something that is as common these days where people are superficial, like you're saying. I think that we have been given a society with instant gratification and technology and taught to window shop people. Well, you get a lot of lemons when you don't look under the hood and take it for a test drive. And people are founding relationships on the most asinine concepts. My husband and I actually knew each other 9 years. We've only been married 2. We did a courtship. We got to know each other psychologically. We took our time. And one of our highest chief complaints was the fact of the meat market. I didn't want to talk to someone who window shopped my picture, and it wasn't worth it. So I remained single for years. I raised my son single for years because I did not want him to see the revolving door and get that generational curse of the bad example. Nor did I want anyone as a mother for my child to not understand and ascertain human connection beyond the physical attributes. I mean, like, I guess that we're just sapiosexual. If there's nothing up here, I don't care what you look like. So it's just kind of, I need more than just a pretty face because it gets boring. I needed interest, I needed conversation, I needed morals and culture and certain things that would actually make a relationship and a marriage. And being born at the tail end of Gen X, I can know for a fact that my generation did not have a lot of this example. We're the children of divorce. We're the children of a lot of latchkey kids who were left alone. A lot of us did not grow up with our grandparents. And me having my grandparents to set the example, my grandmother only had one husband. On my father's side, they were married till death. So I think that was the difference between me and the other girls, is that I had strong family values where it was instilled to not just take the fabulous 5 seconds, and I watched a lot of my female friends get pregnant by junior high, and I chose not to. I stuck with my music and my art. When they were getting in cars with boys, I was going off to take college classes at the conservatory. I was just an extremely driven, focused woman, and I was never popular. I was also a larger girl. So I was not really looked at by most people, and having different culture, it was awkward because I didn't fit in anywhere having Euro African culture. And to this day, I still have issues fitting in because people don't quite ascertain that it is a different type of heritage, and the morals and values are different than what's common in African American culture in the United States or even American culture. Like, I still have girlfriends to this day that do not understand that the confidence and the morality of what they're looking for as a human being is so superficial. No wonder it's failing. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Why do you think, I'm thinking feminism a little bit here. Why do you think 80% of the women initiate divorce?
Because their relationship sucks. And I don't think that it has anything to do with feminism. I think it has to do with the culture and the expectations people have in relationships. And when you have broken people with an unstable example trying to find happiness in another person, you're bound for failure.
So now, are we making society, a mockery of marriage?
I don't think people know what healthy relationships are in general. You have social vampirism, energy vampirism, codependency, narcissists. People don't even know how to be friends. How could they possibly be intimate?
So now, everything you describe is the future.
It's
Because,
happening now. It's been
like,
happening.
if you notice, like, I looked at different programs and things, and one thing I've noticed, which is common, is anytime there's a successful African American program on like the cable program, it's usually about some drug dealer killing people and selling drugs and
Not
pimping women
always.
and all that.
Lovecraft was quite innovative and very successful. Unfortunately, Lovecraft Country was canceled after one season. You actually have to look at the advances of the fact of people of color in horror are on fire right now. Like, it started out with sci-fi doing things with Captain Horror and things in the 70s, and as America is actually starting to address the segregation of the arts based on how race records and culture has been segregated, we're breaking through other generational courses. America is a young country. It is a teenager. We have a long way to go. And unfortunately, we just after the civil rights movement was what, 60, 67 or 60, 67, correct?
Yeah.
I believe, or 63.
No, he was
That's
killed 68,
and
so it was a
so
little way before that. We'll go into
it,
maybe the early 60s, 50, in the
maybe
50s, 60,
60,
yeah,
maybe
Medgar Evers and
63.
all of that going
It's
on.
been
Yeah,
less than like 80 years. Okay.
right. Okay.
So you have a country that within the last less than a century hasn't even addressed the integration of its peoples culturally as a nation yet. We just got Tracy Chapman acknowledged 36 years because a country artist that was Caucasian had to honor her on the Country Music Awards because the people didn't even know it was her song. So we have a long way to go. America is in denial about a lot of things because it's the narrative it's been fed. And the reason I'm saying this is this ties into all of the other narratives that people have been watching. The stereotypes of the bastardized children without fathers, the things on race, gender. What is this? What is that? The segregation is still there. People are still being fed a narrative and not told that there's another way. And you wouldn't know this unless you've lived outside of the country, that this is not normal.
Hmm.
And that's just the thing that we've got a long way to go. We're working on it. I see advancements every day. I'm seeing people come more and more together, but we do need to hear the stories of how we are on those different lines still, but more people need to tear down that wall.
Let me speak on the big picture.
Okay.
You ready, Bill?
I'm ready. I'm holding on for dear life.
Poor Bill. Poor Bill.
No, this is great. This is exactly the kind of thing I like to see on the show.
Everything the young lady has said is true. But now I'm going to speak of something that's global. Because we're looking in society today with the politics and the Donald Trump things and the stuff that's going on. And hold on, I'm gonna, because before you go to Donald Trump, I'm gonna give you something here.
Yeah.
You know,
Can
so
we not go there? I mean,
the first thing we have to understand is that as globally we are under some type of mind control. I'm going to give this to you because remember when I was speaking about certain things with teenagers, they start with the TVs, with the phones and everything like that. And remember, as children, and this is my generation, a lot of times the TV was the babysitter. And we would look at the things on TV. And when I was speaking earlier, when we were talking about imagery, the only kind of black people you saw on TV when you were younger, a lot of times, I mean, you had some programs. I forgot the Diane Carroll. She had a series. She was a nurse, single mother though, nurse and things like that.
mm-hmm.
So the imagery, people, Caucasian people, because I worked in certain jails, who were not around black people except for inmates, saw black people on TV. So their impression of black people were a certain image.
The narrative.
Same thing with black people. If we saw certain things on TV about white people, we automatically remember from infancy this seed is planted that white people are this way and white people are that way. Slavery was this way. When I was 7 years old, I saw Roots.
Mm-hmm.
When they went to the jungle and they grabbed Kunta Kinte and dragged him, beat the hell out of him and took him to the river and he was sold.
Mm-hmm.
That was my imagery of slavery. And through the course of the years, the imagery and the narrative of slavery has made it so that this country and people, we are so divisive with each other, and we use that one topic as a catalyst. Now, I'm not saying the horrors of slavery was not true, but we have to look at it, this is my perception, so nobody will cut my head off yet, as a human evil, not as a white man evil, because one, slavery was global. There was a Arabian slave trade also. So what in a Spaniard slave trade, in a British slave trade. So it was global, and they did not have to go to the jungles and grab nobody with no nets and drag them to the beach. They were sitting on the beach waiting because all the leaders of that African nations were selling them to the colonials and had them waiting. They were their prisoners. Let me finish the thought process. And also, now when you think of that, you say, all right, let's go this and that. So now when I say it's a human evil, around, and these statistics could be a little bit off, but they're not that off. It'll be in the time frame. At one point in the American, we're not talking the global, in the American slave ownership, there was a little over 300,000 slave owners. And that could have incorporated them from having one slave to having 1,000 slaves. I don't know. But statistically, the truth of the matter is at least almost 4,000 of them were black.
Yes, and I'm a descendant of one of them.
So we have had black slave owners, white slave owners, all kinds of slave owners. So when we're sitting here and we're talking about reparations and we're talking about the white man did this, people did that, we as human beings did it to each other. Is it getting too deep?
No, and that's what I was trying to tell you. So I'm going to share a fun fact with you guys. My family actually descends from the El Gendis, who descended from Nefertiti in Egypt. My mother's from Montessori, Egypt. Our actual family not only had Arab slaves, but we also had plantations in the South. We actually sailed up the Charles River to get the ruby that's in the Boston Museum. And we are related to one of the worst Confederate generals in the South that has a hall, and I hope he's rolling in his grave. So, and that's kind of why I advocate the way that I do, because as a person who descended from African aristocracy, I understand a different narrative as an African European American than African Americans understand. As a person who was educated outside of the US education system, I've heard a different history than the African Americans in the United States. My family actually owned the Black Star Cruise Line, which is the first black owned ships that came over back in the day, and they were the black yachts. So our family was never in slavery. Our family owned plantations and had aristocracy in Boston, North Carolina, as well as Louisiana. So it has always been harder for me to kind of be accepted because I was raised in an entirely different concept of what they considered Black excellence. And I've never fit in on either side. And it's always been a debate with people of color with me because I wasn't Black enough, but they didn't understand that I'm African, Italian, Egyptian. And that's another thing that I've noticed in the United States is that there is a stigma that because of your pigment that you have to be the narrative that was taught. And I recently just played Juneteenth in Tucson, Arizona, where I was harassed and had a show unplugged for not being Black enough, playing rock music, which was pretty much founded by a Black woman in the 30s. But I've noticed that African American society has been so force fed this narrative, and American people have been so force fed this narrative, no one's talking about the other success stories. So that's the other reason why I've been advocating and doing interviews and posting things on social media to kind of show people that this is not the only thing that we come from. And it is kind of a weaponized control that was systematically done to keep people oppressed. We don't hear the positive stories during Black History Month. I remember being shown video footage of the KKK in 7th grade and raising hell and getting in the principal's office for asking why we weren't talking about Booker T. Washington or Nikki Giovanni or Maya Angelou or the first Black heart surgeon, or the fact that in the 30s in New York, there were Black doctors who went to school in Paris. These are not the narratives that we hear. We hear that Josephine Baker took her clothes off and did the banana dance, but we don't understand that what she did to bring down the Nazis. They don't talk about these things. They don't talk about Sister Rosetta Tharpe leaving the church to found rock and roll and how Elvis ripped her off. My grandfather played with the Cleftones in the 50s, and they don't talk about the sundown mentalities that are still in play to this very day in the music and arts industries. They're so busy keeping everybody segregated in these narratives that we have forgotten that, as you said, people are doing this to people and people are still silencing it. And that silence needs to be broken. And
May
we
I
need to be
interject?
given other examples and narratives. And people who've been trying to do it are being silenced.
May I?
Sure.
What one of the biggest fallacies, should I say, is and this is what's so crazy. Black is not a culture, it's a color.
Yeah, that is something that insults me all the time.
So
Having a
when
Sicilian last
see,
name and
so
pigment
because
really messes with
you
people.
got Black everything. You got Black Japanese, you got Black Irish, you know what I mean?
Yep, Black Scotch,
And just according to, the
America.
laws back in the day, if you had one drop of Black blood in you, you was Black. So in essence, like if a lot of these people say I mean, this is hypothetical. Say the rules came back and slavery was in effect. You know how many people would not want to take that ancestry test? You know what I mean? So
It's deeper than that.
but look how we do that. What you were just saying, look how we do Black people. And I'm gonna say, and see, this is where it's all changed. I'm gonna say the Black man in America, the Black people in America, the Black people in America, because I don't like the name African American because I never been to Africa. You know what I mean? And I know I have ancestry there, but I just like to say Black. But what happens is because Black people, I'm gonna be honest with you, Bill, if you don't know, and young lady, because you're not, you're biracial and you're from a different, but Black people in America, we worse on Black people than anybody.
Oh, I know
Okay,
that firsthand.
right?
Trust me.
One, we kill each other all the time with no problem. But the first time a white man killed one of us, we ready to have marches and burn down the stores and stuff like that. we used to judge each other on, the paper bag test. If you ain't the color of the paper bag or whatever, and this was black people doing this kind of stuff to each other. When another black man see a light-skinned black man, in his mind, he a little weaker. That's the mentality that has it, because to him, he don't have that melanin. The darker, the stronger. Darker the berry, sweeter the juice. Same thing with black people. So at a certain point, we are our worst enemy. Now, this has all been designed, but not only on black people, because let's get real. The Italians is up there killing each other. The Mexicans is up there killing each other. The Chinese are up there killing each other. So it's some kind of information. It's something that's being put out there where we're killing each other, because we can say racism, but then I say, then why are people killing each other up there in Ireland? There's always an issue in there that people of the same color are sitting up there killing each other. It's the same thing if you go over there with the Palestine and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And some of the Jews.
It's a matter of
people are the same color.
I just think some people just suck, man. I honestly, I think some people just suck. If you get 5 people in one room, good luck trying to get them all to agree. I make jokes all the time that the aliens will never land here because Earth is the ghetto. We can't even get along with each other.
Unless they landed already and we're an experiment.
Yeah, I think they drove right past us. They're like, we're green and purple. They're not going to like us. So it's just kind of, I think that a lot of what you're saying is just people. The human condition has.
That puts a face on it. Get a master, but what's a man?
I think a lot of people. I mean, if you look at the generational construct of what people were fed narrative wise, the fact that people are still somewhat segregated, the fact that television is segregated, the fact that music is segregated, art is segregated, even when they're trying to do things like lift black voices, it's still a stereotype narrative. Like, I found aversion from people of color as a black female rocker. I'm one of 10 of them alive on Earth. However, I had an entire black community boycotting me. And I had an entire racist white community boycotting me. I caught it on both sides. So I just decided to wear black, dress like Catwoman, and tell them all to kind of sod off. There's not really much you can do at that point. People are either going to love it or hate it, and you're not going to please everybody, but there are still good people out there. And I think that conversations like these are needed to bridge the gap in a civil way that's not fighting. There are some things that you've said that I can understand and to hear you out civilly, and you can hear what I'm saying with civility, and this is the start. And if we don't keep having these civilized conversations, there's no example for people to follow. It's just the animosity that they've been taught and the stereotypes to continue on and on and on, and stagnation is the way to the end. So we got to tear down the wall.
Now, good on that. So now I'm going to ask you. You ready, Bill?
I'm ready.
What's wrong with Donald Trump?
Let's just not go there. I think he has taken up enough media attention, and I just, I don't know what's wrong with half of the politicians out there. They're all liars, but this mess is an embarrassment. Politics and politicians are acting like 5th graders. I'm just kind of like, whoa, this is our government. These are the people in charge.
So
can we just take a break
don't they
this
want
year?
that man in office, though, is what I'm at. Without picking a side, why are they working so hard not to get that man in office?
I think it's more
we can't really speak. Yeah, we can't speak for other people's neuroses. People are crazy, man.
But wait, this is undocumented. This is the craziest thing. I mean, we're watching it unfold. I mean, we see we're intelligent people. We're seeing what's taking place and the efforts that are going through here. Why is it they don't want this man in? Why would you go to such extremes that just showing the American people you will go to the extremes? Because, I mean, regardless of if he's a nut, if he's an a-hole and all that other nonsense, look at the extremes and what they're using. And this is a man who has billions, who's globally known, the extremes that they're going to, and including using the media to paint the narrative. Why is it, and what forces are at play? Because remember,
I think you've answered your own question. If somebody who wants to be the leader of the free world can divide a nation like this and cause upheaval, how the heck are we supposed to find peace?
But why is it they don't want him there? Because they're
Look
all
at the
just
hell he's
figureheads.
causing. He's divided the nation in half.
I
How
No
think
so?
matter
it's
what side you
less,
choose.
if I may. Uh, I
Okay.
think it's less. I think it's less about trying to keep Trump out as it is trying to keep the systems of control in place that they have.
Thank
We
you.
keep bringing up
That's
the
exactly what it
narratives.
is.
We keep bringing up the narratives that are told that keep us in line. And it's because, and people are using these narratives to have power. You know, it's not that Biden is this wonderful human
They're all
being,
bad.
right? But I mean, he's
They're all bad.
got some serious issues. But yeah, thinking he's talking to dead people and
Well, I just
things
think,
like that.
and
But
yeah, what
the
gets me
people,
is the control, the
Mhm.
control mechanism, the narrative, the media, how they can tell you one thing and have you thinking all of this stuff. Because whatever you say about Donald Trump, I'm going to tell you and listen. He is not a racist. He could be a nut. He could be a narcissist. But how can you say he's a racist when in the 1980 something, Jesse Jackson, Martin Luther
Mhm.
King's sidekick, gave him a Man of the Year award from the Rainbow Coalition back in the day.
Yep.
And it praised him for the work that he had did with the black communities when he was lending out money and wasn't getting them paid back. These are documented things. But now when they put a narrative and say he's a racist, instead of people looking it up and saying, well, let me hear about this guy. How is he a racist? What he said, this and that. Now he might have specific when he's saying stuff like he wants to deport the people and all that other stuff. What I've learned on this what I've learned in watching this TV and watching these news and things like that is I need to watch all of the news, every single channel, and then come up with my own narrative and my own perspective, because you can watch one channel and they'll tell you something totally different that the other
What
one, I'm
news
saying, but
source
it's
are
the
you
same
watching?
story.
What news sources are you watching? I actually stopped watching the U.S. news as much and
Yeah.
started looking at the global news. I was raised on the global news, and I have also noticed that in the United States, the narrative tends to pit people against each other. One of the
Absolutely.
facts that they did not mention during his presidency was the over 14 counts of crimes against humanity while he was in office that the UN charged the United States with.
Yeah.
There are narratives in the United States that are not being seen, and I'm not going to get too political because the last thing we need to do is further divide the country when we all need to come together. However, I believe that the fear of what's happening with MAGA is more so his fanatics than him himself and how they have taken it to represent racism. Unfortunately, a lot like Charles Manson didn't kill anybody, but the murders happen. We are having racism happen because of things that he has said that idiots have taken too far. And this is a personal choice
Yeah.
of how people choose to have selective hearing. Now, I don't like Donald Trump, but I do live in a democracy where I believe that people are allowed to choose to vote for whomever the heck they want. It is un-American to expect people to be in cult-like thinking. And I think that America has forgotten that. I have friends on both sides of this fence. I have family on both sides of this fence. And I choose as an individual to make how I vote my personal choice, just like it is anybody else's, but I still live with my family, friends, countrymen, and neighbors. And that's
Yes.
what's going on. They want people to drink the Kool-Aid and forget that this is a democracy. And in his popularity contest that he's got going on, he's the only one who can shut that down, and he's not. And how can you lead a nation when you can't even control your groupies? If you can
I
stop them at a rock concert, he can get out there and make it stop.
But it's what you said a few seconds ago. It's like it might not be him, but it's his fanatics.
But
And
his
yeah,
voice has
right,
power, and he can speak to
right,
those fanatics, and he chooses
right.
not to.
But
He incites them. He puts out the
it's
fire with
almost,
kerosene.
I think we're giving them that now. We're giving them too much credit, and we're giving them too much power
No,
because
I've actually been
wait,
attacked and
let
ostracized
me
by
go
mega
here.
fanatics, man. They're
No,
evil.
and I'm gonna equate that with something because I see the mega fanatics, but I never seen them running down the street, burning down stores and stuff like that.
I have
Okay,
seen them do
hold on,
atrocious
wait a second.
crimes.
Wait, I'm gonna give you something too, because I'll see something like Black Lives Matter, which might be was a democratic entity of something like a MAGA thing. But the point of it really is that as long as the narrative is that we're divided, because let's be real, and anybody knows the president does not run the country. Those people that we see on the government, the congressmen and the senators and the stuff, those are all paid people. Those are all the people who they're the figurehead so that we can draw all of that attention. We can say it's Joe Biden. We can say it's Donald Trump. But they got people pulling their triggers because why? And think about this, and just logically, why would a man who makes billions of dollars fight so hard to get into a position that only pays $400,000 a year, and then when you get in the position, get all the tax, and you do it for free because he didn't get paid those years on the public, from the government. But why would you go through all of that to go for a job that you only because he is that figurehead and everybody's looking at him, because then that draws away all the attention where we start to ask, well, where's this money going? What does this get paid for? Why are these taxes getting paid for this much? Who pays for this? No one, when we start getting into detail and start looking at the specifics. But see, if we're so busy worrying about what color we are, who we're voting for, what this person is thinking, what this person is wearing, who this person is loving. All of these things are distractions. And you're so full of the distractions, you're sitting there going, what are they trying to distract me from?
I think it's deeper than that. I think that this ties back into the narrative. Do you realize how many people in the United States do not even ascertain how civics works at a high school level?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have an entire nation of individuals who live in a country as citizens, who don't even understand the lawmaking process of the delegations of how people are picked or how voting is done or how our system works, and you have people who are being boisterous, who are showing and bragging and boasting what they've done or didn't do to people who are poorly informed and educated, it is very easy to mislead people. This is called modernized fiefdom. It is nothing new. It has happened since the dawn of time in empires where they selectively dumb down society so that the government can be ran by aristocracy or papacy or government figures who understand these rules. Now, the other thing that people are not understanding is that Mr. Trump is not a politician or a delegate. He became president as a businessman. Now, I can't tell somebody how to run the White House. I damn sure ain't a politician. But I do understand civics, and I do understand the laws of things. And a lot of the laws in this country are extremely outdated. Case in point, all this stuff going on with AI. So there's so many factors that the common American citizen does not ascertain in how this government works, and people aren't voting, and people aren't actually interested, and people my age don't even know. And I'm in my close to my mid 40s, so you've got the tail end of Gen X and below who is looking at the popularity contest, and they don't even ascertain the civics of the government that they're in as a citizen. It's the blind leading the blind, and in the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king. We need to educate our schools. We need our young people to understand civics a lot better. Instead of putting money into sports, they should be teaching people how things work. I just lived in an area in Arizona where people didn't even understand the chain of command in their local government to actually make change. So if we do not have younger people understanding what things mean, what their civil rights are, how this process works, this is just a popularity contest at that point. No one ascertains what's going on.
But that's the whole point. They're doing it intentionally. That's the whole point. That's what the phones and the
They're
media.
all doing it.
Right.
They're all doing
it's
it.
intentional.
It's extremely intentional, but it's what fiefdom did. They kept the fiefs uneducated, illiterate.
Right.
And
so this is going
money.
back into say why I was saying the Donald Trump thing is just a figurehead. People are captivated and looking at that and looking at him saying all the crap he doing.
It's all rhetoric.
The issues and the things that you just said, because what you just said, but what it is and we see it every day, is they start with the young people. The young people
Yes.
is where they give you all the crap. You understand what I'm saying? The young people, because young people are more defiant. They want to be different. They and you can see it all in history. That's how rock and roll started. Remember when rock and roll started, and then people were just doing the waltzes and all that little nice dancing and stuff. They wasn't up there
Actually, rock and
shaking.
roll started in the 30s off of a
What I'm saying, when
blues
it became
spinoff.
mainstream,
It was
that they were
mainstream in the
right.
30s, all through Europe and other
But
places. The
remember,
United States kept it separate.
around, if I'm not mistaken, Bill, because you wrote it, around in the 50s, around
My
rock
grandfather
and
toured
roll,
in the
that.
50s while this was happening. He was in one of the first rock bands to tour the
Right. No,
country.
what I'm saying, when the mainstream of the TV, when they started with like the Elvis days and stuff like that, there was so much. Now, I'm going to go with what you said about the 30s and stuff. Maybe black people might have been, but when Caucasian people started doing it, if they started fighting against it.
What happened with that historically is that race records had ended because race records had come into formation in the United States because there were two parts of the country. There was white America and black America. And Sun Records basically went over the railroad tracks with artists like Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis and hung out with all these great blues and jazz guys, and they heard the early drafts of rock and roll, which actually had roots in folk and country and slowly progressed as the rhythms moved with people of color that were African American, Native, Asian. It all came together from people just jamming out, and they heard this stuff and they decided to sell it to white audiences. And that's how we got the bastardization of the music industry, having race records and segregation to this day. They have never integrated since race records, and very few people have been able to leave the genres based on pigment based. So, again, these are these segregational, generational curse narratives that America cannot let go of, that because it's their nostalgia and it's incorrect, which is why a lot of people were fighting to try to get the correct story out. People don't realize Hound Dog wasn't Elvis's, it was Big Mama Thornton's. People don't realize that Jerry Lee Lewis learned how to play piano from ditching church and going over to the black side of town. People don't realize so many of these songs that they knew and they heard, there's other versions of it going as far back as the 20s and 30s that they did in the 50s. Big Bopper ripped people off. There's a whole list of names. And there are several artists that tried to break through as rock artists that were not allowed to, that were pigeonholed due to pigment into the categories of funk and R&B when they really wanted to play rock and roll. Like, I still face this today. I've been spat on. I've had beer bottles thrown at me for playing rock music because I wasn't black enough, doing exactly what Rosetta did in the 30s, inventing rock and roll. But people do not understand that. I had to tell people in junior high that Slash is black. Like, people just did not get it. It's just a bubble. And when you have people who have grown up living in a bubble, only taught that one narrative, nobody wants to be told that their world is built on a lie. So you have an entire generation of people who were fed another narrative. And now that it's being debunked, it's blowing people's minds. Like, over in Scotland, they just found out from paleontologists maybe 10 years ago that there's black Vikings. And it just totally took the Scandinavian fantasy out of people's heads and they lost it. And I'm like, yeah, people had boats and they were drunk and they got on the water and they were happy to see those chicks. That's just how it went down. Nobody cared after being on a boat for 9 months. They were sailors. But people don't talk about these things because it wasn't considered okay. And it's still in some places. I heard that in the late 20s, Alabama just got rid of interracial marriage laws. We have a long way to go to break down generational curses. It's going to take a long time. It really is. And the more we start looking at how we are more alike than different and correcting the history of what is rather than what we were told separately, and start seeing that, dude, we all bleed and die and love each other and have families, get over it. Like, it's never going to go away until it's got closure. And this is a really deep wound our country has.
So how is it going to get that?
You know, if I knew the answer, I would market it in a handbook and just pass it out to everybody. But I
I know
don't.
the answer. May
The
I
answer
share?
is start like this. But I'd love to hear your answer.
Okay. You sure you want to hear it? Nah.
I'm You know, you're entitled to your opinion, whether I agree or not. I can at least give you that civility.
Well, first thing is, you know, if we knowledge is power, and it's good to know about the past so that we don't repeat it in a sense, even though we keep
Correct.
repeating it every day. But my method to this, because I've come from very humble beginnings, I come from nothing. Nobody wanted me. I was thrown away. I was bound to become a statistic. I've met all kind of people, black, white, rich, poor, and I've been in all different spectrums. And what I understand in truth is that it's not black and it's not white, it's not gay, it's not straight. You know, it's a economic issue because
Fiefdom.
we can no one and no nationality. Because first of all, there's only 3 races. This is scientifically proved. It's Mongolozoid, Caucasoid, and Negroid. Now you can look that up. There's only 3 races. Everything else is blended, and so we become nationalities of where we're from and where we're this and everything else. So we are all connected. We're all intertwined. If you take our blood and you do the ancestry, they're going to come out with all kind of things and stuff like that. So
Or mutts.
no one can hold the torch and say, I was mistreated
Nope.
the most. They did the worst to me. My people got it bad and this, that, and the other thing. We have made progress and there's more progress to be made. But I heard Denzel Washington say it very clearly one time. You will not politic love. You will not, make laws for people to love each other and to respect each other. Okay? You're not going to do that. But how we're going to make the difference is that I know all the things these people in the past have done, the so-called nationality that people have done, because when you say white people, there's a whole lot of white people. See, the black people, African-American black people, white people just white people. But the white people, you're Polish, you're German, you're Irish, you have all of those different cultures and different things like that. But to us, you're just white people. And back in you're German, you're just white people. So what we have to do to move forward is understand that
There's just
I don't
people.
care what color you are, an asshole is an asshole.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I can agree with that. Yes. I do think that I think that a lot of the problem that we have is ignorance and ego, like seriously. And that's why I do what I do, to bring people together in the same way that Josephine Baker did. I don't like playing segregated shows because music and art they have no pigment, they have no gender, they have no it's just people transcending together for a little while, because we all got dragons to slay. We all got people we care about. We all got stuff to do. And I think the more that we come together and hear these stories, like I'm sure, Bill, as you're hearing these things from our perspective, I know you can relate to seeing these same problems with other people you've seen in other walks of life. This is a human condition, and we need to keep reminding people of their humanity.
Yes.
And the fact that, and that's why I do my humanitarian work, and that's why I advocate. I've had to fire members of my band as a Black female rocker because what I do is rare. However, I still have creative brothers and sisters, and they're awesome, and they come from all genres. Even though I'm rare and marginalized, I still stand for what they believe in creatively, because I believe in art. And I believe that art is people's voice. Now, their voice may not be the same as mine. My voice may not be heard as much as theirs, but I'm working on that. And I think that by going where it's uncomfortable and making people who don't want to shut these narratives down, I'm doing my job. And I'm going to keep doing my job, and I'm going to keep doing it as a peaceful warrior and a humanitarian. And I'm going to keep hearing all the narratives, because if we don't start listening, we're never going to learn. We're just not.
Well, you gotta definitely got an uphill battle to fight on that, because we're to a man and woman affected by this thing called confirmation bias. we've been fed a narrative so many times that we will find things to back it up, even if it's
Yeah.
false. And we don't want to
Mm-hmm.
hear the thing that goes against that narrative. We
Yep.
like
It's
our
like brainwashing.
comfortable little it is. It really is
It
as
is.
close to real brainwashing that we can get. And
I want to say something. Can I say something, Bill?
Sure.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I know everything we was talking and everything the young lady is talking, but you know, in my heart, I'm gonna be truthful. All right, I love America. I mean,
Amen to that.
Have you ever lived outside of America?
Wait, hold on. Let me finish. Hold on for a second. Hold on. I love America, and I'm gonna tell you why I love America, because I came from the ghetto, where it was the hood. Drugs was rampant. People was getting killed. The odds, no father to raise me, no mother to raise me, a single mother, a single great grandmother. Okay, all of the odds were against me, but always told, if you work hard, no matter what your color is, you know, where you're from, if you work hard, you keep your head up, you do the right things, you treat people the way you want to be treated, you keep God in your life, there's nothing you cannot achieve. Now, I'm 55 years old. My kids never been in jail. They're all educated. I live in a $500,000 house on a lake. I'm getting to buy a couple more properties down in Myrtle Beach. I'm worth a significant amount of money, and I'm healthy. I have a wife that I've been with for almost 40 some odd years. So all of those things, all of those statistics, all of those odds, all of those things that people said that are against us that we can't do, I've overcome. But guess what? I'm no superstar and I'm nothing special. Many people have done that. And it's not just black people, because you have many poor people. So all these things that we're talking about, it's a class issue. But in America, if you're willing to work, if you don't want to sit on your behind and get welfare, if you got to work at Burger King in the daytime, Kentucky Fried Chicken at night, and McDonald's on the weekend, you do it and you get to the American dream. When you have those people who come here from those other countries where they don't have the luxuries that they have here in America, when them people coming from Haiti who live in them shacks and they get to live in the projects, they done hit the American dream. You know what I mean? So you can do anything in this country if you put your mind to it. If you're willing to do hard work and that's what I think about America. Yes, I love America with the warts and all. Yeah, I know we got racism. I know we got evil people. I know we got corrupt politicians. But you know what? I can't use any of that as an excuse to stay behind. Oh, I can't do that because a white man keeping me down. Oh, I can't. I'm going to keep going regardless. I'm going to keep going ahead, because I'm going to get spiritual on you. As long as I got God on my side, there's nothing in this world that can hurt me. You know what I mean? As long as I know when I'm dealing with people in life, I'm dealing with a righteous heart, and I'm treating people the way that I would want people to treat me if I was in any situation that they're in, I know I'm going to be ahead. But I do know, because of my past, and if you read the book, you'll understand, I had to learn, if you have evil intentions, if you're dealing with anybody or anything with an evil heart, you will surely reap what you sow.
Yes. Okay. I agree with some of the points that you've said, yes. But I have a question for you. Why do you feel that these statistics were even important in your achievement for success? Because I find it interesting that you keep mentioning it and yet you are successful. I want to ask you, do you feel, as a man that's black in America, that you were fed kind of like a narrative of imposter syndrome to be a statistic, and that it may have traumatized you in some way? Because that's what I want to point out, because the conditioning, I keep hearing you, and it sounds like in your entire adult life, this has been this obstacle over your head that you have surmounted, and that you've made all these achievements, and congratulations on that, sir. But what was different from you hearing that narrative, and were you just a rebel, or what ignited the passion in you? Because me being a first generation American that came from people that worked jobs to become citizens, I love America too. I am living proof of my parents' American dream. Okay?
Why do I do
But
the narrative? Why do I
yeah,
wrote it?
do you feel
Yeah.
you were pressured and pigeonholed into that
Here you
narrative?
go. Here we go. First of all, when I was growing up, there was no narrative. I was just surviving. I was just
Okay.
living. Because here's the
Okay.
reality of it. Who cares? Who
Exactly.
cares? Okay?
Exactly.
That's why I say statistics. Because there's millions of us out there. But not only my color, but there's millions of fatherless children out there. There's millions of people that are born in
No,
drug
I was one of them.
infested
Yeah.
neighborhoods and stuff like that. So growing up, it was just normalized. It was normal to me. It wasn't until I became more cultured. It wasn't until I started writing this book and going back in time and saying, wow, that's not normal. I had a discussion so crazy with my son. He's older, blah, blah, blah. He's in his 30s. And he has a younger sister in her 20s. Now, the younger sister is by my wife and grown up, mother, father, normal stuff, like parent stuff. And he didn't have that normal. So he calls my youngest daughter the golden child. And I was like, why is she the golden child? Well, she has her mother and father, her regular mother and father, and this and that, normal stuff. And I said, but why is she
Why
the
were
golden
you taught
child?
that?
I said,
Is my
that's
question.
normal. I said, that's normal. But today, this is a 34-year-old man. So all the people above him and under him think that way, that's so unusual and that's so special when that's normal. That was normal in life for people to have a mother and father and grow up. But see, in today's society, in certain people's circles, to them, oh, what? And be honest, I'm going to tell you the truth. I said it to my wife when I was 15 and 16 because my wife grew up in the ghetto. Mother and father, both of them worked, raised her class, dignity, respect, taught her how to be a lady. I grew up with a great grandmother. Everybody, motherfucker, they didn't, they were irrelevant. So when I used to mess with my wife, I'd be like, oh, you think you're so special because you grew up with a mommy and daddy. You know what I mean? And that was my joke
No, I
with her.
don't. I wasn't raised in that narrative.
Not
And that's
you.
why I'm
Not
asking,
you,
because
my
I
wife.
really, no,
Not
I
you,
meant
my
like
wife.
in general. I was raised in an entirely different narrative and told that I could make myself sky's the limit as long as I did the work, and that I would have to work harder. And it's true, I do work harder than most people. However, um, I wanted to ask you one more question. Have you
Mhm.
ever lived out of the United States?
No. I'm going
Okay.
to, but no.
I have lived in several countries, and I have seen European ghettos. I have seen Guatemalan ghettos, and I have lived in them. I have been with the Mayans in the highlands, and I have a real love sociologically for people and their cultures. When I go to another culture, I fully immerse myself. I break bread with them. I sit. I understand why they are as beautiful as they are, and I honor it. I learned the language. I speak about 7 languages. I kind of I came from very educated people. I hold 2 degrees, paid off college, everything, 43 years old. This is rare for my generation. I am CEO of my own media label. My music plays all around the world. I've toured all around the world, and I've gotten to see this relationship that was set on the precedent of being a citizen of the world. So when I hear you talk about life in the ghetto, I can relate to seeing ghettos in other countries and indigenous ghettos and things where there are still fatherless child and the same issues. And when you say these things are a people condition, I couldn't agree with you more, because I've seen it in several countries and cultures. And I don't think that people who have been force fed this negative dialogue have left the bubble of that this is global. You are correct. However, I've been in places where when the old men meet with a cayuco on the hill with machetes, somebody's getting buried and set on fire. That is scarier to me than any inner city gang. I have lived in Europe where if there's a serial killer, they're not going to find you. So it's kind of, America has its own little microcosm of these things as well. It is a global thing where just some people suck. But I think it's very interesting. The approach that you're saying is so similar to other countries. That's why I want to ask you, have you actually seen ghettos outside of the United States and lived amongst the people?
Well, let me tell you what I did, and it wasn't as in depth as yours. When I would go on different vacations, I know this is minuscule to what you've seen. Like for instance, I went to Barbados
Okay.
on my honeymoon,
Okay.
and I went horseback riding. And when we went out horseback riding, I went up in the mountains. And we went
Okay.
up in the mountains. I'm seeing these people living up in these shacks and stuff, and I was like,
Yes.
these people really living here? You know what I
Yes.
mean? So
Yes.
to me, that was kind of like, I can't believe people live like this. Now I know it was outside and it's warm weather and all that, but they lived in a shack.
Yes.
I mean, the
And they
shack. Like,
probably slept on the floor.
if you put four
Yep.
pieces of metal together, that was the house.
Mhm.
And I'm riding by them with this horse going, what the hell is this? Like people. So that was my thing. Like
Culture shock.
it emphasizes what I said, as in when people from Haiti, not just Haiti, I'm not picking on Haiti. I'm just giving an example
Sure.
now. Nobody here thinking something different. But when people from Haiti come and you put them in the projects in the middle of the South Bronx, they like, we made it. You know,
Because
and
they came
it's
from the
kind of
third
like
world.
if you gave any of those immigrants right now in New York City a free apartment in the projects, we done made it.
They'd be
We done did the
happy. They'd be
American
happy.
dream.
Right.
Send for some more.
See, that's the thing that I noticed is that living in different cultures. When I left California, I actually ended up spending 10 years in Guatemala. My son was born there. And I toured down in Latin America. And I got in good with the Zutuil tribe, which is one of the last standing Mayan indigenous tribes in Guatemala that were never taken by the Spanish conquistadors. They still speak Mayan, and I learned some of it. And I got to break bread. I got to make tortillas with them. I got in great with them. I even got traditional clothing and a nickname from the tribe, my son too. And that was one of the most culturally enriching experiences of my life because I came back with skills my peers did not have. I knew how to live in the old world. And I think that's why I differ a little bit from the other Gen Xers that are my age because they grew up watching the television. They had the microwave popcorn. They don't know the tricks that the grandparents knew in the depression for how to break things down and can things and how to do things. I've watched people freak out at the grocery store and I'm like, it's not that hard. But these are skills that we are losing as American people. And that's why there's so many hardships and struggles because of the lack of exposure to culture and the lack of tradition because everybody is fed these narratives and everyone is hooked on tech. And it's not that the technology is bad, but it's the obsession with the instant gratification that messes with the prefrontal cortex, that it's like jingling keys in front of an infant to the point of where you're so used to that 7 seconds of stimuli that you can't ascertain anything beyond that. You have no need to retain above it, and it becomes an addiction. So when you have society dumbing down and people being indifferent, fed narratives and intolerance, and you don't ever think outside of your culture, how the heck can you ascertain that this is a human condition when you've just got tunnel vision? You just can't.
Agree.
Well,
What do you
with
think, Bill?
that, I think we have filled the hour and a half we've been doing this.
Has that been this long?
And yeah, it doesn't feel like that long, but no, I think we've had an incredible
Hey, Bill,
show. Yes, sir.
she's smart. You
Yes,
set
she
me
is.
up. You put a
I
genius
did
on me.
not put you two together.
You wanted to see if I could keep up. That's what you did.
I do not put guests together. I
I'm
leave
actually
that
just a
up to the Holy
foul-mouthed
Spirit.
rocker punk,
You
but yeah.
had me start using my mind. I was like, man, I got to start thinking. Wait a minute, what she said? Wait a minute, what? Using them big words on me, girl. Yeah.
There are some of us in Gen X that are not dumb. Yes, we are fighting.
Yep.
We are trying to educate our peers. We're like, put the TikTok down and read a book, please, for
But
God's sake.
I can say through this conversation, we both learned from each other.
Yes, we did. And
And,
and that's the example that I think Bill is trying
and listen,
to set
what I
by
want
bringing
you to
people
do
together.
is, however you want to hook it up, Bill, you can with my management team there. I'll send her a book. I'll sign it and everything. She ain't got to buy it. I'll send it to her. Get
Aww.
the word out. I'll send them 1 and 2 and 3, all right? Well, I'll send
Okay.
them one
Thank you.
first. You get in contact with me,
Thank
then you let me
you.
know if you like it. But like I
Better
said,
yet, I'll
it's gonna
read
put a
it and
face
I'll
on
have you
everything
on my
too.
show.
All right.
There
I'll
you
read it
go.
and I'll have you on my show.
You make
I
that
would love
happen,
to
Bill.
have people
Okay.
I will
identify
make
with
it
your
happen.
voice as well.
All right.
And Bill, you should be on
I
my
will
show
make it
too.
happen. Okay. I will
Yeah, we should
happily
just
do
get
that.
all of these stories out there. That's why we
Yeah.
need people to tell these stories, for people
All
to just
right.
kind of break the ice, man. We're not going to do it unless we all get the priest, the rabbi, everybody down for dinner.
There you go. Bill, you
There you
got a
go.
copy of the book, don't you?
I do. I've
Bill?
actually been working on
Oh,
reading it.
okay. All right. So I'm gonna get one to her, and then that's how we do things. We get the word
Okay.
You got to
out,
do
and
me a
then
favor. I want you to go listen to my music.
I am. Like I said, we're gonna hook it up. That's how I do. I connect with everybody because like I show I don't care about race and all that stuff. People's people to me. If you cool with me, I'm good with you. If not, then we
Fellow
not.
citizen of the world. That's the way it
Yep.
should be.
Yep. Well, and for all the listeners and viewers, the links are in the description so that you can get Russell's book and read them, and read them books and read them, and go and get some of Stell's music and listen to her podcast. Yep. So to end the show, I will ask: do you find people have anything to say to the nice people out there? Stells, you want to start? Final words?
Everybody's slaying dragons. Slow your roll and be kind. You have no idea what the other person is experiencing, and we all have bad days.
That is the truth.
Yep.
Russ?
Live, love, and laugh. Treat people the way you want to be treated in any situation. That's how you treat people. Put yourself in their shoes, whatever position. If they're a bum on the street, if they're high society, treat people the way you want to be treated if you were in that position.
There you go. Sounds pretty good to me. And I want to thank you both for being on the show. This has been quite the ride. I feel like I was not driving this time.
Wow.
But yeah. So thank you all for tuning in. Be safe out there. Remember to wash your hands and stay tuned for the ending credits. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank our producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch. I, of course, am your humble host. I'd also like to thank my special guests, Stells DiRossi-Hurst and Russell Vann. Support the show if you feel so led over on patreon.com. We're known as Bald Spots Pro. Don't you dare miss YWL Online. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever fine podcasts are offered. Be sure to tune in next time when my special guests will be Andy Charles, a development coach who guides people to a life of fulfillment, and Wynn Schwartau, who coined the term electronic Pearl Harbor when testifying before Congress. He's a cybersecurity guru. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. If you or someone you know needs support now, call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. That is the suicide and crisis lifeline here in the United States.